Good day in American history because the Civil War is here. The left has declared a civil war upon the rest of us. Well organized, well funded, tons of lawyers from the verminous ACLU, which is, by the way, a terrorist organization that should be closed down under RICO statutes. I've been writing about this for 20 years. The killings in Minneapolis are the subject of today's discussion. First of all, let me begin by saying to me, human life is sacred. I come from a tradition or a statement such as, he who saves a single life, it is as though he has saved the entire world, has motivated me my entire life. I want to begin with that because I want you to understand where I'm coming from. He who saves a single life, it is as though he has saved the entire world. Okay, Maimonides, 13th century. So what was this nurse, this ICU nurse, doing there with a loaded gun, with an extra clip? What was he doing there? He was looking for trouble. He wanted to be a hero. He went there looking for trouble. He thought he'd be a hero. If he brought a gun with an extra clip, who was he going to shoot? Certainly not the lesbians with whistles who were creating hysteria and panic amongst the agents. That's what the lesbians with whistles are doing. They know that the frequency of the sound wave of those whistles create panic in the brain. That's what the fat deviants are doing there with the whistles. They wanted this to happen. Just as the one last week who raged at an officer in a car got what she wanted, which was to get killed. Now, did this officer overreact? Absolutely. If you look at the tape, this was not one shot in defense. It was multiple shots in the guy's back and his head. Crazy, out of control. But the nurse who got killed, the guy, went there to be a hero, brought a loaded gun to a protest with extra clips. Now, many of you are stupid, and you're saying, well, it's the Second Amendment. You can carry anywhere. Fuck you, stupid moron. Don't tell me about the Second Amendment you can carry anywhere. There's common sense, schmuck. You go to a riot with a loaded gun, someone's going to get killed, and it's liable to be you moron. What are you walking around with that stupidity of the right wing, Second Amendment? Use your head, you schmucks. You go to a riot with a loaded gun with an extra magazine, someone's going to get killed. In this case, it was him. End of story. Now, let's look at the bigger picture. Who was the agent who executed him with all those shots? Crazy, made no sense. The agent absolutely doesn't belong on the streets. This was not self-defense. This was a panic reaction of an inexperienced guy with a loaded gun. Was he provoked? Yeah, well, watch the tape. Mr. Nurse stands there with his big mouth yelling at an agent. Did he deserve to get killed for that alone? No. But shit happens. You take a loaded gun to a protest like this, someone's going to get killed. In this case, it was the nurse. Now, I've known liberals all my life. I ran away from them in New York. They're usually loudmouths. They think they know better than everybody. They have a holier-than-thou attitude. They think that they know better than everybody, and they certainly look down upon these ICE agents as inferiors to them. But look at the bigger picture. Who is behind these protests that won't stop? George Soros' son, that little weasel bastard, is alleged to be funding them. There are many others. But the head of the snake is the ACLU. The American Civil Liberties Union is not American. It's not civil. It's not liberties, but it's a union of hate. I have said over and over again, the ACLU needs to be closed down under RICO, all their assets seized immediately, and let them adjudicate that in a court. Throw them all in jail. They're the ones behind this. They're the ones behind every riot in this country. It's the ACLU. They're egging people on day and night to go out there and agitate. Why? Because they're communists and they want a revolution. So we're in the Civil War. In 2013, I wrote the book, Stop the Coming Civil War, which I've referenced before in this show. And I saw this coming. Graduating to treason, I wrote the opening page. I cannot comprehend the madness of the times. Treason is in the air around us everywhere. It goes by the name of patriotism. Now, depending on which side of the aisle you're on, you could say it's the other side that is committing treason. But I'll tell you who's committing the treason. It's the rioters, the lesbians with whistles, and the funders who should be in jail. Trump needs to crack down on these bastards and throw them in prison. The people funding these protests are not exercising their First Amendment rights. They're exercising their Civil War rights is all they're doing. They want to bring it all down, man. I know what's going on. We're at the point of no return. We've crossed the barrier. Both sides are at each other's throats. Both sides are saying, the hell with them, I'd like to see them dead. Well, one of them is dead. Who are the people who are trying to undermine this nation and cause a civil war? Civil war is the most dangerous and destructive event that can occur in any nation. Write that down. Civil war is the most dangerous and destructive event that can occur in any nation. It invariably involves atrocities committed by both sides against their own fellow citizens, atrocities like those that could have ignited in Rwanda. Look into the history of 1863 Quantrill's Raiders. A band of rebel guerrilla soldiers attacked the town of Lawrence, Kansas, massacring some 200 men and boys and stealing hundreds of thousands of dollars from the townspeople. In an 1864 battle, the Fort Pillow Massacre, more than 300 African-American soldiers were killed, many as they stood weaponless with their hands raised after the garrison had surrendered. If you think that what happened in Minneapolis is an isolated incident that can't lead to something worse, then you're a real moron. You must have gone to Harvard, or worse yet, maybe to Yale. Union soldiers at that time were equally murderous. In early September 1864, the city of Atlanta surrendered to the Union's Major General William Sherman. Do you know what happened in Atlanta after they surrendered? Some 14,000 residents, mostly older men, women, and children, watched helplessly as Sherman's troops burned the great southern city to the ground. Only 10% of Atlanta's buildings escaped the inferno. In the weeks that followed, Sherman's troops marched to Savannah, Georgia, leaving a swath of destruction 40 miles wide across Georgia. Buildings were burned, family farms pillaged, innocents murdered. Lincoln was behind it all. Lincoln was, in fact, a schizophrenic maniac who caused the Civil War strictly for his own power grab. He's very much like Zelensky in many ways, but that's a topic for another day. Sherman's march might have been the most unholy act perpetrated on the American people by one of its own. But when voices rose in outrage, even some from the North, Lincoln not only turned a deaf ear, he ordered the censoring of news stories like Zelensky, to which a compliant Associated Press acquiesced. It's all in my book. And now, some hundreds of years later, 70 years later, a situation very similar to that we faced in the early days of the Civil War is taking shape in America. While most of us are still enjoying peace, there are subterranean rumblings that portend danger ahead. The outrageous acts to which many have become numb, which we are seeing on a regular day, remind us of the months and years before the outbreak of the Civil War. As I see it, the state of our union is in the most perilous position it's been since the 1960s. We're under assault from both inside and out as our government moves to consolidate its power by trying to throw out the vermin criminals from the third world hiding amongst the liberal hives, such as in Minneapolis. Let's look at Minneapolis. What are the troops doing there? They didn't go there to kill someone. They went there to throw out an illegal alien who had a deportation order. So what is this fucking nurse's business to stand there like this and get in the face of the troops? Which side is he on? And the fat lesbians with the whistles. Which side are those psychopathic bitches on? They're on the side of mayhem and destruction. They are the insurrectionists with their whistles. They know that those whistles are high-pitched and they rattle the brain, especially in a panic situation. They know what they're doing. This is all organized from the top down. They have psychologists, they have doctors, they have everyone involved knowing how to provoke a riot. The liberals want a burning civil war. They want it to spread from Minneapolis to the whole nation. They want a revolution, and they're going to get one. 2 of them have been killed so far, but this is just the beginning if they keep this up. Because liberalism is a mental disorder. You look at the people who are getting whacked, they're crazy. They're crazy. You provoke a guy with a loaded weapon over and over and over again in the streets. What the hell do you think's going to happen? You think because you blow a whistle with your girlfriend, they're going to back off? You think you're on the college campus where you bulge your way to the top? That's how they destroy the universities, these lesbians. I know what I'm talking about. I've watched them destroy the nation. They started with the universities. Then they went into the churches where you had dykes become priests. And then they preached the most abominable things as Christ-like. I am sick of this revolution. I want it over with. I'd like to see it over with. The left thinks they're going to win this revolution. They're not going to win. They're going to wind up dead in the streets. This administration is not going to withdraw the federal troops. They're not going to let the illegal aliens run wild in Minneapolis or anywhere else. They're not going to let Waltz and Fry laugh all the way to their Swiss banks. Where are the billions of dollars in fraudulent monies that went missing in Minneapolis? That, my friends, always follow the money. That's who's behind these riots. Follow the money. Distract everybody with the civil rights bullshit. Turn the federal troops into monsters, and everyone will forget the $19 or $9 billion that was stolen by the Somali scumbag vermin that should have been kicked out of the country before they even got here, along with Ilhan Omar, who should be thrown out with a friggin' turban. Send her out of this country with a dirty, filthy turban. Throw her out of the nation, that rat. Not only is it bad enough that she robs us blind, but she spits on America and Americans. I can't take it anymore. This long march has come to an end. Waltz and Frey should be immediately arrested and tried for fraud. And let them prove that they didn't get any kickbacks. It didn't flow up to them in any way, directly or indirectly. Let them prove that none of the money flowed upwards to their campaigns through third, fourth, fifth parties. These riots are camouflage for the Somali theft. This is what the left has always done. Do something over here so you'll forget what's over there. You want them to forget the theft? Create riots in the streets. Send out your dogs with the whistles. What happened to the fraud, the Somali fraud, the daycare, the Medicare, child care? It's always child and medical and senior citizen care. Deport them all. Throw them out of the country. They're a waste upon this society. Can you name one Somali who's contributed to American society? Look back on the history of immigrant groups. For better or for worse, warts and all, every immigrant group had their criminals and they had their good. But overall, you look, the Italians gave us their cuisine. The Irish gave us their poetry and their song. The African Americans gave us their music. What the hell have the Somalis given this country? Nothing. They're leeches. They're pirates. They're the scum of Africa. Nobody even wants them in Africa. And worse yet, we have a representative in Congress who learned very good from the liberal bastards who brought her in that the best defense is an offense. So she learned, spit on America, call them evil, call them dirty, call whites pigs. And no one will look underneath her dirty turban, her dirty raghead. No one will dare lift up the dirty rag and see what she's hiding. You don't like what I'm saying? You know what you can do with it? I don't give a shit anymore. I'm an old man and I'm tired of what's going on in this country. I'm sick of it. They are the Nazis, the left. They are the fascists on the left. You give them any more power, they're going to be armed in the streets and they're going to be shooting you. The long march, it began a long time ago. Can the situation in our nation get worse and turn into an actual shooting civil war? Maybe. We're seeing the signs of it everywhere. Maybe it will get worse. Maybe they will go home. Maybe Soros will start crapping in his pants and stop funding these riots. That little weasel son of a bitch who never did a goddamn thing in his life other than inherit his filthy father's money. That money changer son of a bitch Soros has done more damage in my estimation to this nation and this world than any other single man on the planet in my lifetime. He's like Pol Pot with a checkbook. And now his weaselly son. Everywhere you see is that little rat bastard, Soros Jr. He's there behind it all, funding and dancing. And he's an insurrectionist. He's seeding these riots. Why doesn't Trump go after Soros? No one knows the answer to that. You can guess. You can guess, but I don't really want to go there today. So we've had a civil war begun against us on many fronts. There was first a war on our borders by Joe Biden, on our language by Joe Biden, and our culture by Joe Biden. Then there was a war on the U.S. military, where they threw out all of the brave men they could get their hands on, mainly whites, threw them out of the officer corps. Obama started it. Then they started a war on the middle class. Then a war on American medicine with the COVID lies. Then a war on science itself. Certainly a war on our children with the trans dancers in the classrooms. How do you stop the coming civil war? Now, that's the question. This period in American history is not unique. It reminds me of Italy in the 1970s. If you look at the communists in Italy in the 1970s, they were on the march. They were kidnapping and killing people, mainly rich people in Italy, and they thought they were on the side of right. Remember, the communists always have the sense that they're right and everyone else is a fascist and wrong. Remember the left, the communists. Don't call them left or anything else. They're communists. This is a communist revolution. Ronald Reagan said, we will preserve for our children this, the last best hope of man on earth, or we will sentence them to take the first step into 1,000 years of darkness. And now we're in the world liberal revolution. As I wrote over 10 years ago in Stop the Coming Civil War, this book is not just about the coming civil war in America, it's also about the conflict that is being pushed in the name of a broader worldwide liberal revolution. As I see it, I wrote, the forces of the left are attempting nothing less than a socialist takeover of the world economy and global politics. This world liberal revolution is what the tens of millions of conservative, law-abiding Americans are fighting against, often without even knowing it. We are the equivalent of the anti-communists who fought Stalin. The conservatives in our nation, those who still believe in the family, the personal and religious freedom, in the Constitution of the United States, who are standing up to an increasingly overbearing left-wing movement, we are the new resistance. They are not the resistance. They are the fascist communists. And by the way, when I say fascist and communist, they're not oxymoronic. Communists are always fascistic. They use force to take over a country. And unless this power grab by the left is arrested immediately, we're all liable to become serfs in the New World Order. In the Soviet Union, if a person did not comply with the dictates and politics of the Communist Party, at first they were ignored. That meant that any reference to them disappeared from the Soviet newspaper Pravda. You're in the liberal gulag in this country, no matter how smart you may be, no matter how productive you may be, no matter what you have contributed to the society, you have been cast into the liberal gulag by the vermin who run the media. The only thing that is being permitted to talk about, that they permit to be talked about in the media, are the rioters, the immigrants, the criminals, singers, sports figures, degenerates of every kind, anti-American scumbags, occupiers, Democrats. They're the only heroes that the American media will let you even read about. Those who oppose the individual freedoms championed by Western civilization are considered heroes, while those of us who uphold Western values are looked upon as the enemy. So what are the Western values in Minneapolis? Are they the lesbians with whistles? Are those Western values? Well, yeah, Mike, that's the First Amendment bullshit. They are there to cause mayhem. They're screaming fire in a crowded theater. They wanted the shootings. They wanted that girl to get run over 2 weeks ago, and they wanted this nurse to get shot. They are happy now. Their controllers are laughing and tee-heeing all around America. They think they're winning. But they don't have a weakling in the White House. They have a strong man. And he's not going to back down. He's not going to remove ICE from Minneapolis. He's going to crack down even harder. He's got to call out the troops, not just ICE. He's now got to call in the 101st Airborne and put them in the streets of Minneapolis and break some goddamn heads. Now you say, gee, Mike, are you against legitimate protest? No, this is not legitimate protest. This is insurrection. This is rioting. This is everything that is bad. Nothing to do with legitimate protest. And by the way, what are they protesting? They're protesting removing criminals from America? Why? Because the Democrat machine thrives on the illegal votes and the money that flows up from the illegal activities. It flows right up into the Al Capone machine called the Democrat Party. So it's either them or us. It's that simple. Now, before I go off into the next segment of this particular show, of where the situation is liable to go, let me conclude my last couple of paragraphs by saying, unless this liberal revolution is stopped and turned back, there will be a full-out shooting civil war in the United States, which is more than likely to be crushed completely, like by a steamroller, by Donald Trump, because the civil rest cannot go on much longer. Now, has the 101st ever been used before? Isn't there a posse comitatus act, Mike? Well, study your history, idiot. Yes. Yes. Let's do it together. Let's look it up. Let's look it up. And don't forget what I said here today. My first line, never forget the first line. The first line, he who saves a single life, it is as though he has saved the entire world. That's been my MO my whole life. I come from a people who believes in the sacred nature of human life, the dignity of human life. But when the police, in the form of ICE, go into arrest and throw out people on detainer orders who should have been removed by that scumbag mayor, that looks like a mass murderer to me, his face. From the day that Waltz appeared on the stage, I knew he was a lunatic. And his ties to communist China are a mile wide. I'm not going to talk about Bernie Sanders, the worst scumbag ever in the history of America. That type of Jew is who I ran away from in New York, and I'm Jewish. He's not Jewish. He's a piece of communist turd. He has not been in a synagogue in his entire life. That Bernie Sanders. He hates Jews. He hates Israel. He hates Zionism. He hates everything good about the Jewish people. He's a Fugazi Jew. How's this end? Well, let's look at what happens next. I don't know what Trump's going to do, but he better do it real fast, whatever he's going to do. And he better bring in the 101st Airborne, which has been done before. You bring in some hard Marines with them, with nightsticks and dogs, and you don't give a shit what the world says about you. Unleash them on the Lesos with whistles. They'll go back to baking brownies in the church. They're emboldened because no one stood up to them their whole life. That's how they took over the universities and the churches, by blowing their frigging whistles. Now some nurse got shot. Was it an overreaction to what I've seen? Yes. They executed him. But I'll repeat what I said at the beginning. You bring a loaded gun with extra magazines to a riot, what the hell do you think is going to happen? What did you think would happen? What did this nurse go there for and stand up like this right to the face of an agent? What? He was trying to be a fucking hero. And as you well know, he wasn't the hero. Now he's a dead hero. Because he provoked them and an accident happened. That's what happens when you go to a riot with a loaded gun. You want to protest? Great. We have a First Amendment. I love it. Protest all you want in the snow, in the wind, the sleet, the desert. I don't care. That's all right. You bring a gun to a protest? What are you bringing the gun for? Well, what did this nurse bring a gun for? Tell me what he was doing there. What did he bring the extra magazines for? He wanted to shoot somebody. He thought he'd be a hero. His own father was quoted as saying, yeah, go there and protest, but don't do anything stupid. Well, he did something stupid and got killed. The agent overreacted and panicked. It was a classic panic reaction, which is exactly what the funders like the ACLU want. They wanted this to happen, and they want even more people to get shot because they want Trump to then back off. I'm not Second Amendment putz. You're stupid. You're a moron. This is what the stupid people on the right, who are as dumb as the people on the left, are saying. I have the right to carry anywhere I want. Stupid moron. There's a difference between being smart and being right, idiot, something you never learned. You can be right all you want. You can be dead. You want to be smart or you want to be right? You know, you want to go protest, don't bring a loaded gun to the protest. What the hell was it brought there for? Because the nurse wanted to be a hero. He wanted to shoot an agent. He wanted something to happen where he could have been a hero and shot an agent, and then they would put him up on a pedestal and he'd be on Good Morning America tomorrow. Anderson Cooper would come in his pants to have him on his show. I'm going to get vulgar. I'm going to get vulgar because I hate the left in this country. I don't respect them at all. I think Anderson Cooper should be thrown in prison. I think Wolf Blitzer should be deported to Israel where he belongs. They are insurrectionists. I'm sick of this. I don't care if you have a CCW. I have one. But if you read the rules of a CCW, you can't carry that weapon into a bar, for example, where alcohol is served. Why? Because they know that bad things happen in bars. By common sense, you wouldn't carry it to a riot, would you? Unless you wanted something to happen. Put two and two together. You want to be smart or you want to be right? You can be right all you want and wind up on a slab. So let's look up which presidents brought in the military. I'll do a quick search and we'll find the answer. I know Eisenhower did for sure. Let's see. You can do it while I'm doing it. I'll start with a Google search, but it's not the best search site. I have much better ones now. So we'll start with which presidents. Oh, I mistyped it. It takes so long. Presidents brought in military to control riots. Military to control riots. Okay. In America. Okay. There we go. We'll get the answer right now. I love search engines. I'll do AI first, and then I'm going to go to my favorite search site. Several U.S. presidents have invoked the Insurrection Act or federalized the National Guard to control riots and domestic unrest. Notable examples include Eisenhower, Little Rock, 1957, Kennedy, the good liberal, in Mississippi, 1962, Johnson in Detroit in 1967, King assassination riots in 68, and George W. Bush in Los Angeles in 1992. You didn't know that because you didn't read it you didn't see it on CNN or the Jake Tapper. Let him take off his goddamn wedding dress and be a human being, that piece of garbage. George Washington, 1794, Whiskey Rebellion. Okay, that's too long ago. Let's come up to now, Mike. Dwight D. Eisenhower, my hero, 1957, federalized the Arkansas National Guard and sent 101st Airborne Division troops to desegregate Central High School in Little Rock. He did that on the side of the liberals, but he used the 101st Airborne to do it because the crackers didn't want to desegregate their schools. The crackers didn't want it, so Eisenhower brought in the 101st Airborne against Americans right then and there. Kennedy, liberal, 1962, sent federal troops to enforce the desegregation of the University of Mississippi. Again, people didn't want desegregation. Kennedy forced it upon them using federal troops. No outcry from the liberals then. The New York Times didn't have a fit and have to go out and get a new Modesto for the day, did they? No, because it was for them. Lyndon Johnson, 65, 67, 68. Sent federal troops to Alabama to protect civil rights marchers and deployed troops to Detroit and other cities during riots following assassination of MLK Jr. in 1968. George H.W. Bush in 92 sent troops to L.A. during the Rodney King riots. Remember that? 7 times presidents have activated U.S. troops on, accept and close, again with the something where when you can look it up yourself. I have a better search engine. List of invocations of the Insurrection Act. Many incidents. There's 30 of them, by the way. 6 times the military was used for riot control in the U.S. Here, let's look it up. I've given you some of them. These pop-ups should go out of your mind. I think we've covered them all. 1863 New York City draft riots. They didn't want to go fight in the war to free the slaves. So they called out troops to force people to go become cannon fodder for the Civil War, just like they're doing in Ukraine. 1932, disbanding the bonus army. That's an interesting one. Long story right there. 1967, Detroit's 12th Street riots. 67, Newark riots. That was horrible. Horrible what went on there. What began as a protest against police brutality soon turned into widespread rioting and looting. That's what they would like in Minneapolis, looting. That's coming next. Looting, you want looting. They want hundreds of millions of dollars in damage. That's what the ACLU would laugh all the way. All the lawyers of the ACLU, they're rioting now. Look, Martha. They want more dead. I could see George Soros laughing with the ACLU that he funds. Like a rat with the rat hands. You don't know what I have, what contempt I have for that type. 92 Los Angeles riots, beating of motorist Rodney King after being stopped in traffic. 32 square miles burned because that's what they do. If you get a free refrigerator or a coat out of it, why not? It's only a matter of time until Trump will do it. Then they could say, well, he's no good. He's a fascist. Therefore, you have to elect a communist. That's all they want here. They're working toward the midterms. That's the big picture. So Trump understands that, so he's holding back. How long he's going to hold back, I don't know. Now they're calling him ICU nurse. At the time of his shooting, he was not an ICU nurse. He was a stupid fucking moron who looked for trouble with a loaded gun. Look, here's the New York Times. Minneapolis shooting live updates. Who was ICU nurse Alex Pretty? Not very pretty. No, not very pretty. He went there looking for trouble, wanted to be a hero, and he got killed. Minnesota leaders are vowing to hold federal officials accountable. How about the missing billions, Minnesota officials? The nurse, he was there nursing people. He wasn't there nursing people. He wasn't there after confronting immigration authorities. He started to interfere with the arrest of an illegal alien. He was carrying a loaded gun with an extra magazine to kill law enforcement. He didn't brandish it, but he had it with him. What the hell was he doing with the gun? What did he bring the gun for? Governor Tim Walz, the corrupt piece of trash, promising that the state will, quote, have the last word. No, you won't. You're going to jail, fatso. You're going to jail. And Obama now is talking. Yeah, he's talking. Should be a wake-up call to every American. How much money has he made since he was president? Obama, Mr. Holier than thou. More demonstrations planned in Chicago and Minneapolis. Solidarity now. More solidarity. Prayer vigil. Multiple faith leaders. They're faith leaders like my dog's vomit. Faith leaders. Civil rights. You say civil rights to me, I run and reach for my gun. Gangsters. Gangsters, civil rights. Gangsters, civil rights leaders. Al Sharpton's a civil rights leader. He's a Fugazi coin. Pritzker, the fat slob, thrown out of his business by his own family, called ICE to be abolished, urging his fellow Republican Democrat governors to have a unified response. We must all stand against the lawlessness being inflicted in our states. He thinks he's going to be president, the slob. I don't think there's enough Ozempic in the Treasury to have him lose enough weight and enough baggage to become the president. Mamdani, the communist garbage, I call him Mom's dummy, says ICE raids are inhumane pledges to fight operations. Let him drop dead. Mamdani, what a curse on humanity he is. Came here from Africa, and now he tells us how to run the country. Mother was a communist, father was a communist, but he's going to tell America how to run our country. Okay, well, roads near the site where Preddy was killed have reopened after a night of overwhelmingly calm and peaceful protest, according to the city of Minneapolis. No reports of burglaries or fires. Oh, really? That's nice. Well, maybe they could get the ACLU in there with some whistles to make sure there are some riots. Mayor Jacob Fry, another piece of work, a piece of trash, said the memorials are gatherings are peaceful. Thank you to our law enforcement partners, community organizations and leaders, city staff and neighbors who helped keep things calm and safe last night. Let's continue that collective effort today, said Mayor Jacob Fry. By the way, his wife is a chief lobbyist in the city while he's the mayor. Anyone check any money trails between the two? You haven't looked into that yet? Well, okay, we see what's going on. Now some even wobbly Republican governors are calling on Trump to pause immigration enforcement. No, increase immigration enforcement. Get the vermin out of the country now. Throw them all out. Get rid of the scumbags who are here with detainer orders. I want them gone. I want the criminals thrown back into the turd worlds that they came from. I don't want them bringing their third world crime to my country. Donald Trump, don't weaken. Get tougher, bring in the 101st Airborne, but get them out of this country. Yes, you want to investigate the incident of the shooting. I know what happened. You could see it with your own eyes. I know carrying a firearm is not a death sentence. I know it's a constitutionally protected, God-given right, but you don't bring it to a riot unless you're an idiot looking to get killed or looking for trouble. What the hell do you bring a loaded gun to a riot for? What good could come of it? Not to protect yourself, to kill somebody. That guy went there wanting to be a hero. He wanted to shoot an agent and then be a god on Good Morning America. He wanted Jake Tapper to give him a golden award. He wanted Wolf Blitzer to act like the Jewish grandfather from hell and salute him. Carrying a firearm is not a death sentence. I agree. I know it's a constitutionally protected God-given right. But if you bring it to a riot, you can expect something bad to happen. GoFundMe for Preddy's family raises over $433,000. Good. What are they going to do with the money? He's dead. What are they going to do with the money now? Buy a new Cadillac Escalade? Here we go. Look what just came out. Look at this. The fundraiser said, if for any reason the funds cannot be transferred to Alex's family, we will direct the total amount to the Immigrant Defense Project, a nonprofit. That makes it good. Like the Minnesota, Somali groups, they're all non that provides litigation, check, advocacy, check, and community defense resources to help immigrants defend their rights and fight deportation. I would deport them in the Immigrant Defense Project. That's the first thing I would do. Organizer Keith Edwards said he has contacted Preddy's family. He's working with GoFundMe to ensure they receive the money. But if the money isn't received, it'll go to the Immigrant Defense Project. Right. Immediate arrest and investigation. So now the agents are all seen as bad guys. There's no question in my mind this agent went crazy, lost his cool, and executed this stupid nurse who brought a gun to a loaded gun to a riot. Minneapolis shooting live updates. Who was ICU nurse Alex Preddy? I expect a coin to be minted in his honor by the ACLU, just like out of Animal Farm. They'll do a march for him. Send in the Marines, get it over with, clean it up. Rip the immigrants who are hiding amongst the liberals out by their hair and throw them out of this country before it's too late. Rip them out of the country. And while you're there, make a mistake and throw Omar out, Ilhan Omar, and let her prove that she's not in on the scam of the billions of dollars. I'll do a Bernie Sanders with a hand. You know how much money has been stolen out of that state? They got you looking here while they're over here. They stole the money, and they have you looking at over here. They got someone killed, so now you're not looking at the money anymore. And the Somalis, the skinny pirates, are laughing all the way to the Swiss bank with their new Mercedes. So I'll conclude where I began. The Civil War is upon us. It's in an early stage. Early stage. The Long March has been completed a long time ago. What is the Long March? It's the long march through the institutions. Obama declared that, like Lincoln, he was out to, quote, free a people, unquote, and, quote, transform a nation, unquote. Obama started the Civil War. He's going to be very unhappy when it touches him and people start looking into his finances. There's no question that we're living in a nation more divided than any since Lincoln's presidency. And we've entered a time and place that may be as dangerous as it was during the Lincoln years. I worry, though, that has happened in Lincoln's time when moving not toward expanded freedom, but towards civil war. I fear the worst. Those are my words in 2013. And yes, some call me a prophet. Others call me Michael Savage. I'm not a prophet. What is a prophet? It's someone who can see what's happening and tell you what's going to happen and make a fairly good prediction. That's what a prophet is. I don't even roll my eyes like I'm in Somalia and give you some, predictions. A prophet is someone who can prophesize based upon what's happening. We can see what's happening. This is not new to America or to the world. The communists have been rioting for a long time in America and in Europe. Again, go and study the 1970s in Italy for a model of what could happen here, where they were kidnapping and executing people that they called fascists. In the end, they got suppressed, crushed, and thrown into prison. Then they all cut their hair, became gay, and went into the movie business. And that was the end of the communist revolution in Italy. Half of them ran to New York and opened deli, pizzerias. Once they started making money, they were no longer a communist. One of the greatest cures for communism is capitalism. You give them a few bucks, suddenly they don't want communism anymore. Wait until that piece of garbage in New York, Mamdani, starts raking in the money, him and that wife of his with the boots, the $700 boots. When you see them rolling in it like pigs in Animal Farm, you'll see his rhetoric go down. So that's it. Michael, I just got this from a dear friend of mine who's been around a little bit, Tony, Colonel. Colonel's a good friend. He knows a lot more than I do about world events. Michael, he says, one great informative talk today. You've given all of us hope for a clear resolution to the street fighting. The troops have to go to Minneapolis. Time is against us. The president has to act quickly. Tony, that's Dr. D. Thanks, Tony. Thanks for the support. I don't get much. I'm alone. Okay, my friends, that's it for today. I wish I could conclude with a clever little line. I can't. We're past a clever little line. It's time for the airborne troops. The fire hoses, the dogs, the airborne troops. Put them down, get them out of there before something really bad happens. Because this is a cancer. And the airborne troops are like our defense cells, like white blood cells that would be sent in to kill the cancer cells of the left. The left are cancer cells upon our society. They're like trying to cause a multiple myeloma of the body politic. And they've got to be killed with chemotherapy as fast as possible, quenched. Free radicals from vitamin C are no longer enough. They got to be put away fast and go after the vast money stolen by the politicians and the Somali community. And then you'll see what these riots are all about. Follow the money, and you'll understand why they're fighting so hard, because they know that they're going to go to jail for the robbery. Study your history. At least 7 times the military has been called out to quell rebellions, riots in this country. It's time for the 8th time. You want to be right or you want to be smart? I'm Michael Savage. Thanks for listening. And I'll go out there and enjoy the day. Watch a dumb sporting match. Watch some goon with a ball. Go ahead, go watch some idiot with a ball. Take me out to the ball game. Take me out to the crowd. Buy me some peanuts and Cracker Jacks. Just be an average American moron with your hat on backwards. Go watch a sporting match, you fucking moron. They're stealing your country from you, these leftist scumbags. Say something, you putz. That's why your wife doesn't respect you, because you don't say anything. Be a goddamn man. Speak out before there's nothing left for you to say.